Peace, Prince Ash here. This is part 2 to my homelessness story. Please subscribe to the channel. Greatly appreciated, and I appreciate all the love and all the likes and the comments and everything else, man. Really appreciate it. It's cool, man. It's really cool to see. And hopefully we can reach more people and spread the message. The message is hope and reaching out, and everything's gonna be alright, man. So I ended up going to rehab, coming out, living in a halfway house. I relapsed. I spent 1 day homeless, I think, or 2, and I went straight back to rehab after. So that was my second time in Coolarn. It was like my 5th time in rehab. This time I knew I was in psychosis, and I was aware of my delusions and shit like that. So I was able to fully be honest in the program and try my best, and I did really well, to the point where when I went to the halfway house the second time, the rehab employed me on a CE scheme, which is a part-time work scheme, and I was on the detox unit. I was doing admissions for people, and when people come in, I'd greet them and check their bags and just be there to chat to them and stuff. That was cool, man. Yeah, I got to develop a little as a person and grow into myself a little bit more. Anyway, this is about homelessness, but that's part of the story. I then went on to live in a recovery house, which is a sober house to live in with obviously less people in the house. There was 2 other people in the house with me, and I had maybe 9, 10. Sorry, I had a year and 4 months sober. 1 year and 4 months sober. But there was a catch. I was gambling. Not good. That led on to my relapse. I was gambling away on football and shit like that, and some days I'd win, some days I'd lose, most days I'd lose. When I had money, I was gambling, all my spare money. I was able to pay rent, but the rest of my money was going on gambling. Some weeks I'd come out with a profit and I'd be able to afford shit, and that's why I liked it. I thought I was smart. I thought, yeah, I have this sussed out. I know I'm able to afford shit now. I could buy gifts for myself and family, I guess. And in reality, I was losing most weeks, and I'd be real depressed about it. Anyway, it led on. I started drinking again. And yeah, it got to the point I couldn't control it. I was drinking, taking cocaine. I was taking benzos, smoking weed, yeah, not a weed, smoking weed. And yeah, I was in full-blown relapse. I couldn't control it, and I got caught, and I got kicked out. And once again, I was left in a position where I'd nowhere to go. Absolutely nowhere. I had to ring the council and explain my situation, and I got registered as homeless. Fortunately, there's a day centre in Galway called the Hope Day Centre, and it's a place, it's open during the day, obviously, not at night, and it's where you can go when you're homeless to have a shower, there's staff there that will help try and get you housed, get you somewhere to go, whether it's emergency accommodation. I didn't get into emergency accommodation straight away. So it was bad. I had nowhere to go. So yeah, I started sleeping rough. I was sleeping in a car park. I won't say where. I didn't know anywhere else to go. It was a place I used to smoke joints in growing up, so I just thought, that's the only place I know that's kind of sheltered, and where I'm not exactly trespassing because I'm allowed into the car park. And I've so much footage of what happened during that time that I could make a documentary, but I'll save that for another day. I won't be doing anything with it in the near future anyway, but if they ever make a documentary about me, I have plenty of footage, which is unlikely, but who knows, man. So, yeah, at night I'd have a sleeping bag and I'd a little mat underneath myself, and I'd always have drink beside me, and I'd just listen to music. I had a power bank to charge my phone and my laptop, and I'd a rucksack with me at all times, and I'd wear like puffy jackets and hoodies and stuff, and I'd just lie there listening to music like, this sucks. This is unjust. I don't deserve this. Once again, my mother and my family weren't talking to me. No one was really offering me a place to stay. Well, no one at all. So I was like, fuck, man. This is shit, man. Yeah, it was a lonely place. And I started getting very paranoid. And yeah, I started getting very paranoid, and I was afraid to go back to the car park. So I ended up going to a less sheltered place, and I slept there, but I could only sleep like 1 or 2 hours at a time because it was so cold. I'd wake up shivering, and I knew I had to get somewhere warm, so I made the decision that I'd go to the casino. I used to go to the casino, charge my phone, avail of the tea and coffee there, warm up, go back out, sleep for 2 hours, go back to the casino, and yeah, charge up the phone and stuff, because my phone died pretty quick, and yeah, I kind of had to have it on at all times. And yeah, I could have died really, and I nearly did. There was some nights where it was lashing rain. There was one night that was just so bad, and we'll call her my auntie for the sake of it. She rang and she was like, John, you can't stay out in this. I was like, I know, I have to fucking get somewhere. I'm not going to survive the night here. I was soaked to the bone. I walked from town to Salt Hill, back to town, and my foot was starting to get a blister, trench foot basically. And she booked me a hostel for 1 night, 2 nights, sorry it was. Got to the hostel, took a shower and stuff, and warmed up, and yeah, lay on the bed, and I was so grateful to have a bed that night. And 2 days later was back to the trenches, so to speak, or the grind of trying to survive being homeless. And my foot was getting very bad. It was a massive blister all over my foot. It was really bad. It was infected as well. I had to go to the doctor. The doctor prescribed antibiotics. I was taking them. Fortunately, I didn't go near heroin in that time. It wasn't really offered to me, thank God. So I stayed away from it. And yeah, I was going to the day centre, and one of the lads kind of copped it, and people were saying, oh, you can come sleep in my tent if you want. And I was like, no, thanks. I'll just go to wherever I wanted to go to sleep and rough it out. And I got to know the homeless community in Galway pretty well. People who were sleeping in tents, and I saw the rough side of it. And a handful of people I know from that community are dead now. Young guy, aged 29, passed away over the summer. And yeah, it's just awful. awful that there's people in our country living like that. But I was taking a lot of drugs and drinking and just numbing the pain. And my auntie kept ringing me and saying, go back to rehab. And I was like, it's not going to solve anything, me going to rehab. It's not going to solve my housing situation. So I think I'll just stay out and take my chances, which I did. And I'm glad I made that call, because I'd still be in rehab right now if I decided to go. And what would I have achieved? I'd still be homeless. So at the end of my time in rehab, I'd be there and be like, where am I going? So the housing crisis is pretty bad in Galway. And fortunately, I got into emergency accommodation after 2 months, I think it was. Yeah, about 2 months. 2 months of sleeping rough. So, yeah, as you can imagine, those 2 months were depressing, dark, absolutely harsh, lonely, and just painful. But I survived it, and I'm stronger because of it. And yeah, I made it out of the trenches, so to speak. I decided to get sober again. I rang my sponsor and I just said, will you be my sponsor? I need to change my life. I'm not going through this shit again. And I did, and I haven't looked back since. And that's metaphorically. Of course I look back and learn from my mistakes and everything else like that. But yeah, I haven't looked back. I'm gonna stick it out. I'm doing my very best. Since the emergency accommodation, I got moved on to a more permanent accommodation with less people, and it's a recovery house, so everyone's sober, which is great. So yeah, I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy. It's just horrible. I'm just glad to be alive. Yeah, I'm lucky that infection in my foot didn't spread, and could have killed me if it did, you know what I mean? So yeah, I'll leave it at that.